What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC Vegas 73. We got Mackenzie Dern going against Angela Hill.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown and prediction video. This week breaking down 12 fight card, UFC Vegas 73. We're back at the Apex, the main event, Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill. Yeah, you heard that right. Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, the main event. Yeah, this card I'm happy that we get a card almost every Saturday. And I think at least this card is going to bring some violence. I think there's a lot of betting opportunities, but this is a very, very weak card compared to some of the other cards this year. But I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to talking about it. Did want to get this out extra early. I'm going to be going on vacation, heading to Charlotte, North Carolina to watch the fights, and then also heading to South Carolina to do like a mini vacation for me and my wife's first year anniversary. So I wanted to get everything out so I don't have to really worry about that the next couple days. So out early here, was able to work really hard, tape all these 12 fights, and get everything done. So yeah, looking forward to talking about it. And like I said, I think it's a good card from a betting perspective. I think we're going to get a lot of violence, and really that's all I can ask for on a Saturday is some freaking violence, and we're getting it this week, I think. But yeah, before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, getting very, 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 very close to 20,000 subs. I think like 50 to 60 away. If you guys do watch the channel, if you guys do enjoy the content, if you're new, be sure to subscribe. Let's try to hit that 20K goal by the time these fighters get into the cage on Saturday. But yeah, other than that, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, my DMs are always open. And then other than that, I'll be going live Friday, as always, for some final thoughts on the card and then betting content throughout the week as well. All right, guys, let's get into this completely stacked UFC Vegas 73 Apex card. And we're going to kick it off with Takashi Sato going against Themba Gorimbo. We have Takashi Sato, 32 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, 16-6 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Themba Gorimbo, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 76.5-inch reach, 10-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at these odds. We see that Themba Gorimbo opened up as the favorite, -165, currently a pick 'em -110. Takashi Sato opened up as the dog, +145, currently a pick 'em -110, and very, very low level fight to kick off the card. I mean, no disrespect, but you know, Takashi Sato 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Themba Gorimbo, I'm just not sure how good he is. He made his debut, I think it was on short notice against AJ Fletcher, and I fully expected AJ Fletcher to make quick work of him, and he did. So I'm not sure either guy's UFC caliber, but in terms of this matchup, we got a striker versus grappler matchup. Takashi Sato being the striker, Themba Gorimbo being the grappler. Themba Gorimbo has shown some solid wrestling, grappling outside the UFC, and even inside the UFC. He went in against AJ Fletcher. He did take him down early, and I had like an AJ Fletcher inside the distance ticket or an under or something along those lines, and I was getting a little worried. I'm like, man, maybe Themba Gorimbo is legit, because I remember he was like taking pictures with a UFC belt. Themba was talking about being champion one day. I'm like, man, maybe this guy's okay. And then all of a sudden AJ Fletcher starts to take over. Gorimbo starts to slow down and gets submitted in the second round there. But yeah, in this matchup, Themba Gorimbo is going to have a clear path to victory. Takashi Sato has a massive gaping hole in his game, and that gaping hole is the takedown defense and ground game. Takashi Sato, his ground game is not good. His takedown defense is not good. His submission defense is not good. With that said, he did survive 3 rounds against Gunnar Nelson, which to this day, that fight makes 0 sense, because Takashi Sato's out there getting submitted by everybody. Like Miguel Baeza, who, don't get me wrong, is a black belt, went out there and got his very first submission against Sato. We saw Bilal Muhammad, who finishes nobody ever, was able to submit Takashi Sato. So to see Gunnar Nelson not submit Sato was weird, but I think it had more to do of just Sato accepting the defeat. I mean, not trying to get up, not doing anything to get up, just he was content to lose the fight by decision and not get subbed. I think that was what happened in that fight. So yeah, on the feet, it's Sato here. I don't think Gorimbo's even going to attempt to strike with Sato, because even in the Fletcher fight, Gorimbo wanted nothing to do with the striking with AJ Fletcher, which was weird because Gorimbo had like a 10-inch reach advantage in that fight. In this fight, he's still going to have a reach advantage, but he's not going to want to strike with the very powerful Sato. So yeah, Sato probably can knock out Gorimbo when this on the feet, but Gorimbo is going to go for takedowns, and I think he's going to go for them early, and I think he's going to get them, and I think he's going to be the much better grappler. Like, Themba's grappling is okay. He does make a ton of mistakes. He is submission over position, which in this fight, it'll be okay, I think. But yeah, just a really low-level fight to kick off the card. I'm going to take Themba to go out there and submit Takashi Sato in the second round, but I have serious concerns about Themba's cardio. He looked very, very tired after that first round against Fletcher, and I like I said, I believe it was short notice, so I might give him a little bit of a pass, but it's not a fight you probably want to go, all in to kick off the card. Give me Themba for the sub. Striker versus grappler matchup. I think it'll be a violent fight, but don't really want much to do with it. Give me Themba's second round sub there. Oh boy. Oh my. We have Orion Cosce going against Gilbert Urbina. We have another low-level fight. Cosce, 28 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach, 8-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Gilbert Urbina, 27 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach, 6-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds, why don't we? We have Orion Cosce, believe it or not, opened at -230, currently -155. Gilbert Urbina opened up +195, currently +135. Very sketchy fight here, in my opinion. We have two guys who I don't trust either guy's cardio. Gilbert Urbina went in there on the Ultimate Fighter finale against Brian Battle. He was stepping in for Tresean Gore on short notice, and he did look good in round 1, but he ended up gassing out and getting subbed, which is fun. You can give him a pass for that, but even in like some of his other fights, I went back and watched his other fights, he is getting tired in the fight. Which I don't like to see. He is making mistakes. He's sloppy on the mat. He's submission over position. He's giving up position in a lot of these fights, especially as the fight goes on. In the Tough House, he went out there and he fought Michael Gilmore, and he submitted him in the first round. I mean, that tells me nothing. And then he went out there against Tresean Gore and made Tresean Gore look like a completely amazing fighter, where Gore dropped him like 3-4 times, and then Gore just knocked him out bad in that second round. In the Tough House there. So I'm not high on either guy, again, in this matchup. It's just Cosce, I don't think he has the best cardio in the world, but he's a guy, unlike his brother Luis Cosce, he gets tired. He's clearly tired, but he has a lot of heart. He can push through it. He's out there winning third rounds. He's out there finishing fights in third rounds. He got a third round finish on the Contender Series. So I think both these guys are going to be very tired after the first 5 minutes. It's just I trust Orion Cosce to work through that, push through that. And I think he can stop Urbina late here. I think Urbina's probably the better striker. And I think Cosce's probably the better wrestler. And I think Cosce can mix in takedowns here, can wear on Urbina, and I think he's going to go out there and finish him late here. But again, you can't really trust Orion Cosce. I don't think his cardio is amazing, but with that said, I don't think Urbina's cardio is amazing either. So give me Orion Cosce to mix in the takedowns, make this a very grinding, heavy fight, and then eventually get Urbina in a sub in the third round. Sub 3 for Orion Cosce. Another lowish level fight here early in the card. Oh boy, yes, we have Natalia Silva going against Victoria Leonardo. We got Natalia Silva, 26 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach, 14, 5-1, and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Victoria Leonardo, 33 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach, 9-4 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at the odds. Natalia Silva, biggest favorite on the entire card, opened at -600, currently -550. Victoria Leonardo is currently sitting as a +400 underdog, and line makes sense. So I'm researching this fight, and I'm thinking, man, obviously you never want to lay this kind of price tag, but what I'm thinking is, how does Victoria Leonardo win this fight? How does she have success in the fight? And the only place where I do see Victoria Leonardo having success is going to be in the clinch. Just because Leonardo, she can control her opponents against the cage, and Natalia Silva, the one thing I don't like is she can't be controlled against the cage. We saw Jazz the Vicious control her a little bit against the cage. We saw Bleda control her a little bit against the cage. So where Victoria Leonardo is going to have success is holding Silva against the cage, which she might do a little bit of. At range, My gosh, at range, it is not even close whatsoever. Natalia Silva's striking is legit. And it's weird. Like, Natalia Silva, I remember watching tape on her for the Jazz DeVicious fight, which, by the way, she came in on the Jazz DeVicious fight as a really big underdog. And, of course, I didn't lay the juicy price tag on Jazz DeVicious for obvious reasons, but I was not expecting Natalia Silva to look like that. So she took like a 2 or 3 year layoff between like 2019 and 2022, right? And she shows up looking like a completely different fighter. I'm like, who the heck is that? Because that is not who I watched on tape. Natalia Silva took a big jump in terms of making so many improvements. Her striking looked phenomenal. Her takedown defense looked elite. She was able to stuff all the takedowns from Jazz DeVicious. And even in the Bleda fight, where Bleda is a good wrestler, good grappler, she was able to stuff the majority of those takedowns as well. She did make a mistake here or there. She did get reversed by Bleda and end up on bottom for a little bit. So as long as she keeps this upright, she should win this fight and look like a massive favorite. For Leonardo to have any success, she's going to have to, A, control Silva against the cage, which I think there can be a little bit of, or B, even take down Silva, which I just think is going to be much easier said than done. If Leonardo can get on top of Silva, she probably does control her, but I don't know if I see that happening. So this should be Silva. This should be Silva all day. I mean, it's not a hot take. She's the biggest favorite on the card. And I think she stops Victoria Leonardo. I think there's such a discrepancy in the striking that she's going to really put it on Leonardo, and I think she stops her in that second or third round. Leonardo's tough. She is. But at the end of the day, she's been finishing all of her losses. 4 losses, 3 by knockout, 1 by sub. I think Silva knocks out Victoria Leonardo in the second round here. 3 fights in, I'm predicting 3 finishes. I think there's going to be a lot of violence on this card. Not the highest level card, but I think there's going to be some violence, and I think the violence train continues with this fight. But my goodness, man. Like, this is bad. Chase Hooper, Nick Fiore. We got Chase Hooper, 23 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 11-3, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Nick Fiore, 25 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, 6-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Let's take a look at these odds. We have about a pick 'em here. Chase Hooper opened up minus 115, same price. Nick Fiore opened up minus 105, same price there. So this is a fight where I have no clue what's going to happen, and I forgot to put the this is what I get for being so early here. Put the price tags here. But anyway, this is a fight where I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't think either guy's that great. I've never been high on Chase Hooper, to be honest. I tend to pick against him a lot, to fade him a lot. But there was a point where I'm like, man, Chase Hooper is starting to look a lot better. Like in the Steven Peterson fight, I had a bet on Steven Peterson at dog money, and I'm like, he's starting to look a little bit better. His wrestling's looking a little bit better. I was not really expecting him to go out there and mix in, get like 3-4 takedowns in that fight. And then against Felipe Colares, which, by the way, rest in peace, Felipe Colares. Terrible, tragic incident there. And I actually really liked Colares a lot. So, yeah, rest in peace, Colares. But Hooper looked really good in that matchup. The best he ever had. He looked amazing. It was a very scrambly, heavy fight. You know, both guys had their moments, but Chase Hooper pulled ahead in that third round and got the finish there. In this matchup, I still have a lot of question marks about Nick Fiore. There's not a lot of footage out there in terms of his pro career. Like, you got to go back and watch a lot of amateur fights, which I did, but not a lot of pro footage available. Like, there was a fight you can watch against Jay Ellis, which he went out there and finished Jay Ellis in less than 60 seconds. And then, of course, there's the Mateusz Rebecki fight where he came in, I believe, on short notice against Rebecki and made a good account for himself, honestly. A lot of people, including me, was expecting Rebecki to go out there and finish Nick Fiore, and probably in the first round. Nick Fiore, that was actually the first time he went out of the first round in his pro career. So he showed a lot of toughness, he showed a lot of heart, but he did slow down as that fight went on, which is expected because, A, I'm pretty sure he came in on short notice, and B, that was the first time he's ever been out of the first round. And C, it was his UFC debut. So you're going to expect him to slow down. But, yeah, like I said, Chase Hooper, he's looking better. He's starting to put it all together. And then he fights Steve Garcia, and the dude gets smoked. Probably one of the worst beatings I've ever seen. Like, this guy gets dropped 3 or 4 times and then gets knocked out. So I'm like, my goodness, Chase, what's going on? I thought you improved the wrestling, you improved the striking. No, you looked atrocious in that matchup. But he's not going to have to worry about that here against Nick Fiore. Nick Fiore is a grappler, although he is training with the New England Cartel guys, Rob Font, Calvin Kattar, and them. but he's primarily a grappler. And you're not going to have to worry about Nick Fiore going out there and taking your head off. I think this fight is primarily going to be a grappling fight, where both guys are going to get their moments on the mat. It's just I trust Chase Hooper a tad more when this fight gets extended. We've seen Chase Hooper go into a second and go into a third and look very good doing so. Like in the Felipe Colares fight, Chase Hooper looked phenomenal in that third round, whereas Fiore, I think he's going to look good early on. I think he's going to be able to compete early on. But as this fight goes on, I think Chase Hooper is going to start to wear on Fiore, and I think he can get another third-round finish here. But having much confidence in Chase Hooper is just not the smartest thing in the world. So give me Chase Hooper for the win. I'll say Chase Hooper, third-round sub. But it's another fight that is could really go either way. I just can't trust Chase Hooper, but I'll pick him here. I'll pick him to win by late finish. Oh, my gosh. We have Rodrigo Nascimento going against Ilir Latifi. Card of the year, guys. I mean, this card is phenomenal. It doesn't get any better than this. We have Rodrigo Nascimento, 30 years old, 6'2", with a 80-inch reach, 9-1 and 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Ilir Latifi, 40 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach, 16-8, and he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So we have Rodrigo Nascimento currently sitting as a -155 favorite, and we have Ilir Latifi currently sitting as a +135 underdog. And yeah, like I said, another very sloppy, greasy heavyweight fight here that I think is going to be very sloppy and greasy, and both guys are probably going to gas out after the first round. It's a complete mess here. Ilir Latifi used to be a light heavyweight. His last couple fights have been at heavyweight, very undersized for heavyweight. He's now 40 years old. Nascimento, I don't think he's amazing, but he's 10 years younger. He's going to be the more natural heavyweight. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the better striker, although I don't think his striking is great at all. It's just he's going to throw more volume, whereas Ilir Latifi throws literally nothing. He does nothing at all, Ilir Latifi. So Nascimento is going to win the striking exchanges just because Latifi literally does nothing. I guess it all comes down to whether or not Ilir Latifi is going to get this fight down to the mat. Is he going to be able to take down Nascimento? I have not seen Nascimento taken down, but that's more due to nobody wants to take him down. I mean, his base is grappling. He's a BJJ black belt, apparently a very good grappler, and he has a lot of submissions on his record. Ilir Latifi is going to have no fear in that. I don't believe he took down Alexei Oleinik. So I don't think he's going to be scared to take down Nascimento. It's just, is he going to be able to take down Nascimento? How is Nascimento's takedown defense? What does his game look like off his back? Those are all questions that are going to be answered here. Because Nascimento's not taking down Ilir Latifi. Ilir Latifi has elite takedown defense. I think on paper it's 100%. I don't think anybody's taken down Ilir Latifi in his entire career, and this guy's been fighting for a while. So I don't know if Nascimento is going to take him down here. So I am going to pick Rodrigo Nascimento. I think for Latifi to win this fight, he's going to have to get 2 takedowns and win 2 rounds and just lay on Nascimento. I'm going to say that Nascimento is able to stuff a lot of these takedowns. Maybe he gets taken down once and loses a round, but I like the volume of Nascimento, the grappling, the power, the size, the youth of Nascimento. Lots of reasons to like Nascimento in this matchup, but it's a very low-level heavyweight fight at the end of the day. So give me Nascimento. I'll take him to win by like a greasy decision, but it's another fight where I don't want a ton to do with here. Nascimento by decision. All right, moving on, we got Karolina Kowalkiewicz going against Vanessa Demopoulos. We got Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 37 years old, 5'3" with a 64-inch reach, 14-7 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Vanessa Demopoulos, 34 years old, 5'2", with a 59.5-inch reach, 9-4 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Karolina Kowalkiewicz open up -115, currently -120. Vanessa Demopoulos opened up -105, currently +100. My goodness. Wow. This is a fight here. We have Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She's going to be 3 years older. She's a fighter that I could have swore she was going to retire a couple fights ago. It was what fight was it? It was the Felice Herrig fight, right? Yeah, it was the Felice Herrig fight. So Karolina lost 5 fights in a row. She lost to Andrade, Watterson, Grasso, Yan Jiaonan, Penne, 5 fights in a row. And they gave her another shot. They gave her another shot against Felice Herrig. I thought that was her retirement fight. It was actually Felice Herrig, though, that retired. So she won that fight. She looked good, but I think it was more so due to Felice Herrig just being well on her way out. And then she beats Silvana Gomez-Juarez. Honestly, close fight, like very close fight that played out on the feet. In terms of the numbers, Silvana Gomez-Juarez outlanded Karolina, but Karolina did mix in a takedown or two, so Karolina won the fight. That's fine. This is a matchup where I think it is going to be relatively close, I guess. On the feet, the better striker is Karolina, and it's not really debatable at all. But Vanessa Demopoulos, although she's 34 years old, I don't know. She's looking a lot better, I'd say, in just terms of her overall game in MMA. Like, her wrestling is looking a lot better. Her striking still really needs some work, but it's looking better. But it's, her striking defense is not great. She's going to eat punches with her face. But what I like about Demopoulos is she has a little bit of that dog in her. And that dog, is winning her fights, She showed that dog in her against Maria Oliveira in a fight where she's getting outstruck, but hey, she landed a knockdown. She's getting takedowns. She ultimately won that fight. Against Jinh Yu Frey, I thought she probably lost that fight, but she came forward. She landed the harder shot. She won that fight. She's going to march forward here like a zombie. She's going to try to land hard shots, and she's going to pressure, and she's going to try to finish the fight, whereas Karolina is going to probably want to stay on the outside, land more volume, just pick apart the very hittable Vanessa Demopoulos. If Vanessa Demopoulos can get takedowns here, I think she can have a lot of success. I really do. Her grappling is her bread and butter. It always has been. It's just she doesn't have the wrestling to get it there. Kind of like a Mackenzie Dern, who we'll talk about in the main event. Vanessa Demopoulos has a 16% takedown accuracy. But like I said, her wrestling's looking a little better. She got a takedown against Jinh Yu Frey, who has very good takedown defense. She got 2 takedowns against Maria Oliveira. So if she can come out here and take down Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I think she can win the round or even the fight on the mat. So another very close, sketchy fight, but I'm going to take Demopoulos as the dog here. I'm going to say she goes out there and gets Karolina down to the mat and submits her in the second round. But it's a fight that, again, I don't have a ton of confidence on. All right, moving on. We have Lupita Godinez going against Emily. Are we going to get a good fight on this card? Like, what's going on? Going against Emily Ducote. We have Lupita Godinez, 29 years old, 5'2", with a 61-inch reach, 9-3, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Emily Ducote, 29 years old, 5'2", with a 63-inch reach, 12-7, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Let's take a look at these odds, why don't we? We have Lupita Godinez as the favorite. She's currently sitting at -140, and then Emily Ducote is sitting at +120. I mean, this fight is simple to break down, but at the same time, tough to break down just because what is Lupita's game plan? Lupita Godinez is a phenomenal wrestler. Her wrestling is very, very good. She's so strong for the division. Like, she's so strong, such a good wrestler. She's really good at it. Lupita Godinez, why don't you wrestle anymore? Why aren't you wrestling anymore? 1 takedown, I believe, in her last 2 fights combined. She didn't take down Cynthia Calvillo, and she arguably lost that fight. Like, a lot of people scored that fight for Cynthia Calvillo. I barely paid attention to it, so I don't have much of an opinion, but my opinion is, like, why didn't she wrestle? I get that Calvillo is a good grappler, but come on. Against Angela Hill, massive favorite there. She doesn't wrestle at all. I mean, got a takedown or 2, but, why stand there and get outstruck by Angela Hill? So if Lupita Godinez goes for takedown, she wins this fight and wins this fight easy. I think Ducote's takedown defense is good. It's okay. But I don't think her get-up game is existent at all. I think if Ducote gets taken down, she's content to kind of work off her back. She can get stuck there. She's going to throw up submissions, and throwing up submissions is probably not going to work here against Lupita. So, yeah, if Lupita wrestles, easy win. It's just, I don't know if I can trust her to do that. And if she does not wrestle, she still probably could win the fight, but it's going to be a lot closer than it really needs to be. So this would be a lot easier if I knew the game plan of Lupita Godinez. But it looks like she's fallen in love with her hands a little bit as of late, which, in my opinion, just makes no sense at all. I mean, it makes no sense. Like, why not wrestle? That's literally what you're good at. So we'll see. Give me Lupita to go out there, mix in takedowns, and make this look easy. But it all comes down to whether she goes for takedowns or not. So give me Lupita. Give me Lupita by decision. All right, moving on. We got a good fight finally. We have Joaquin Buckley going against Andre Fialho. We got Joaquin Buckley, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 76-inch reach, 15-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Andre Fialho, 29 years old, 6 foot, with a 74-inch reach, 16-6, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Joaquin Buckley open up -180, currently -170. Andre Fialho open up +155, currently +145. And I don't know. I guess I disagree with those odds slightly, just because this fight feels like a coin flip to me, just due to the fact that both these guys hit so hard. They really do. Both these guys have a ton of power in their hands, and I think both these guys have pretty bad durability as well. Buckley's been knocked out 4 times. Fialho has been knocked out 4 times. I will say, I think Buckley's durability is a little bit better. I think he can take a shot a little bit better, whereas Fialho's wobbling over the cage at any punch that lands on him. So, yeah, I question both guys and their durability, but both guys have that power. This is going to be a fight that takes place on the feet. Neither guy is going to wrestle here. It's going to be a very fun fight. Small cage as well. I like this fight quite a bit, but in terms of picking a winner, I don't know. It all comes down to who lands that big shot first. One thing I don't like about Joaquin Buckley, which is something to absolutely mention here, Joaquin Buckley is going to be coming down a weight class. He's going to be fighting at welterweight here. I'm just going to take a look. His last couple fights, middleweight against Curtis, middleweight against Imavov, Alassane, middleweight, Antonio Hoyo was middleweight, Leslie Dusharico, middleweight, of course, Jordan Wright was middleweight as well. The Impa fight was middleweight. The Holland fight was middleweight. So the last time Buckley fought at welterweight was back in, 2018? Yeah, 2018 against Logan Storley in a fight that he did lose. So it's been about 5 years since Buckley has cut down to welterweight, which the cut down from middleweight to welterweight, I mean, that's a 15-pound difference. So I want to see Buckley on the scale, see how he looks, but that is 100% something to mention here. So in a fight where I think these guys are going to stand and bang, I'm going to take the dog here in Fialho. I mean, this guy's durability is terrible, so he could absolutely get finished here. But I think somebody's getting finished. Give me Fialho to land that big shot, knock out Joaquin Buckley, and I think it's in the first round. Fialho in the first round is so powerful, so dangerous. It's just when the fight gets extended, he really doesn't have much left. I'm going to say Fialho marches forward, gets a first round finish. These guys are going to stand and bang until one man falls. Give me the dog, but I think violence here is probably the best option. Fialho first round KO. All right, moving on, we got Diego Ferreira going against Michael Johnson. We got Ferreira, 38 years old, 5'9", with a 74-inch reach, 17-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Michael Johnson, 36 years old, 5'10", with a 73.5-inch reach, 21-18 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Diego Ferreira. He is currently sitting as a -155 favorite, and then Michael Johnson sitting as a +135 underdog. So, Carlos Ferreira has not fought in some time now. I do want to see the exact amount of time he's taken off. Carlos Diego Ferreira, the last time he fought was about a year and 4 months ago, which is a concern because he's a 38-year-old lightweight. The last time Diego Ferreira won a fight was back in 3 years and 3 months ago against Anthony Pettis. Was the last time Ferreira won a fight. He lost to Beneil Dariush, which was a competitive fight. That was 2 years ago. He lost to Gregor Gillespie, ground and pound 2 years ago, and then he lost to Mateusz Gamrot a year and a half ago, just about. That scares me for Diego Ferreira. This is a guy that's now 38 years old at lightweight. Michael Johnson's he's not young as well. He's 36, but at least Michael Johnson is showing that he can go out there and win fights, and he did in his last fight against Mark Diakase as a really big dog. He went out there, and Mark Diakase did come out there with a very bad game plan, don't get me wrong, but when Mark Diakase did go for a takedown, Michael Johnson stuffed that takedown, no problem. Michael Johnson's takedown defense is very good. The problem with Michael Johnson has and always has been just inconsistent. Sometimes Michael Johnson shows up and looks really good, and sometimes Michael Johnson shows up and looks really bad, and this is a guy that always finds a way to lose. He always finds a way to lose fights he's winning. So sketchy fight here, but why can't Michael Johnson stuff the takedowns of Diego Ferreira here, keep this fight on the feet, and be the better striker? Why can't he stuff the takedowns of Diego Ferreira here? Diego Ferreira, he's an incredible grappler. Like, his grappling's next level. It's just the wrestling's not there. He doesn't go for a lot of takedowns. First of all, he doesn't get a lot of takedowns. So is he going to be able to take down Michael Johnson? He shouldn't, but I'll tell you right now, if Ferreira gets one takedown, the fight is probably over shortly after, especially if it's late, just due to the fact that Johnson's been subbed like 9 times. Johnson does seem to tire out as the fight goes on. And like I said, he finds a way to lose. So it would not shock me in the slightest if Ferreira does get this fight down to the mat just once and that's it. But I'm going to say Johnson stuffs the takedowns, keeps on the feet, and outpoints Diego Ferreira. I think it's going to look a lot like the Diakese fight, probably even easier, especially considering Diego Ferreira is now 38 years old at this point, hasn't been in there for a while. Give me Michael Johnson to pull off the upset, but trusting Michael Johnson with my money is not something I've done in a very long time, and it's not something I'll probably ever do against. But yeah, as far as the pick goes, Michael Johnson by decision. All right, couple fights left. We have Viacheslav Borshchev going against Maheshate. We got Borshchev, 31 years old, 5'11" with a 69-inch reach, 6-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Maheshate, 23 years old, 6 foot with a 71.5-inch reach, 9-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So we have Borshchev around -155, Maheshate +135. I'm happy to see the UFC is finally giving Borshchev a striker. Went through all the tape available of Maheshate, which is not much. It's like 3 fights available, 3 or 4. No evidence that he's going to go out there and wrestle. Therefore, Borshchev is probably going to get the fight he wants, which is a striking fight, and therefore he should be the better striker. I think he's going to shine here in this matchup. I think we're finally going to see Borshchev strike, which is honestly, it's a beauty to see. This guy's a very good striker, tons of tools on the feet, tons of power as well. Very, very good striker. The problem with Borshchev is the takedown defense. Probably the worst takedown defense in the UFC. It's bad. I mean, he's getting taken down and he's getting controlled. It's very, very bad. But Maheshate, a striker in his own right, is probably not going to take him down. I'd be curious to see if Maheshate does attempt takedowns just due to the fact that Borshchev's takedown defense sucks, but I think this fight is going to be standing. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. I think this fight's going to be an absolute war, and I'm going to take the better striker here, and that's going to be Borshchev. I think Borshchev is finally going to get to show off that striking that he's been wanting to show off, but guys keep taking him down, and you can't do that. I think he's going to win a lot of fights like this, again, striker versus striker matchups, but if he gets put against somebody that can wrestle at all, he's probably going to lose that fight unless he can really go out there and start stuffing takedowns, keeping on the feet. And by the way, this says middleweight, it should be lightweight. But yeah, I think this is a fight that Borshchev goes out there and wins. I'm going to take him to win this fight by first round knockout. I think that striking is going to show, that power is going to show, and I think he knocks out Maheshate in the very first round. Moving on, co-main event. We got Anthony Hernandez going against Edmen Shahbazyan. We got Hernandez, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach, 10-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Edmen Shahbazyan, 25 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach, 12-3 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So Anthony Hernandez is a -300 favorite, which is the second biggest favorite on the card, and Edmen Shahbazyan is a +250 underdog here. So it's a terrible matchup for Shahbazyan. Like, I don't know why Shahbazyan took this fight, because if you could go out there and make the worst possible matchup for Shahbazyan, the worst possible matchup is probably Anthony Hernandez. Like, somebody that's going to wrestle, somebody that's going to push a pace, somebody that's going to make you work. I mean, that's Anthony Hernandez. This is a bad matchup for Shahbazyan. Very bad matchup. With that said, like, Shahbazyan, he's super dangerous early in the first round. Maybe he can knock out Hernandez. Remember when Kevin Holland starched Hernandez in the first 60 seconds? I mean, that could happen here, but once Hernandez gets that wrestling going, it's going to be a wrap. Hernandez is a guy that just breaks people with his cardio, his pressure, his pace. He's tough. He's durable for the most part. And he can break. I mean, he went out there and broke Marc-Andre Barriault, who's known for doing the exact same thing and breaking people with his cardio, pressure, and pace. He broke Marc-Andre Barriault. and submitted him in the third round. Like, what is he going to do to Edmen Shahbazyan, who all he does is get broken in the second and third? We saw Derek Brunson break this guy and finish him. We saw Jack Hermanson break this guy. We saw Nazardine Imavov break this guy in the second round and finish him. Hernandez is going to set a pace that Shahbazyan is just not going to be able to keep up with. So I think it's a case where it's Shahbazyan early or it's Hernandez late. And I'm going to trust Hernandez to go out there, mix in the wrestling early and often, wear on Shahbazyan, and finish him in that second round. Should be a very fun fight, a matchup where I just question the decision-making of Shahbazyan here in terms of accepting this matchup. I mean, it's a tough matchup for him. If he wins, I'd be very impressed, but my goodness, I mean, you can't get a worse matchup here for Edmen Shahbazyan. So give me Hernandez to break Edmen Shahbazyan. I'll take Hernandez second round submission. And finally, the main event. We got Mackenzie Dern going against Angela Hill. We got Mackenzie Dern, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach, 12-3 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Angela Hill, 38 years old, 5'3", with a 64.5-inch reach, 15-12 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. So, yeah, we were supposed to watch this for UFC Charlotte. They decided for some reason to take the fight off of UFC Charlotte card, and hey, let's make it a 5-round main event. That'll be a great idea. I actually like this fight. Do I like it as a main event? Not really, but it's a good fight, I'd say. Mackenzie Dern, minus 185. Angela Hill, plus 160. And yeah, I broke this fight down a little bit on one of my shows last week for the UFC Charlotte card, and I was picking Mackenzie Dern by sub. The 5 rounds doesn't change much for me, other than it's, Mackenzie Dern's going to have an extra 2 rounds to get a takedown. Angela Hill, in theory, her takedown defense is very good. Her striking is going to be much better than Dern's. In theory, she should probably be able to stuff the takedowns of Dern and win this fight by decision, but Mackenzie Dern, she's 8 years younger. She's making improvements. Like Mackenzie Dern, her striking is getting a lot better. Her wrestling is getting better. She went from a 6% takedown accuracy to 11%. That's progress right there. And when she is striking, it's not the most technical striking in the world, but she's throwing heat. Like she's hitting very hard. She's taking chances, and that's because she doesn't care if Angela Hill takes her down or anybody takes her down for that matter. So yeah, it's gonna be Mackenzie Dern coming forward, landing big shots. Getting hit a lot, but landing big shots. Angela Hill staying on the outside, outpointing Dern. And if Dern can get a takedown, it very well could be a wrap. Like it was just a couple years ago where Randa Marcos subbed Angela Hill in the first round. And if Randa Marcos is subbing you, I think Dern can, easily. So on top of that, Verna Jandaroba got Hill in a bunch of bad positions. Shout out to Hill. She was able to get through those and fight out of those bad positions. But I think, if you get in those same positions against Dern, it very well could be a wrap. I think Dern subs Angela Hill. The thing about this is it could be in the first round. It could be in the 5th round. It all comes down to when Dern does get that takedown. If Angela Hill can stuff takedowns for the entire 25 minutes, she probably has a good chance of winning the fight if the judges don't rob her. But I will say Dern does eventually get a takedown. She does eventually get on top, and she works that ground game, and she submits a 38-year-old Angela Hill in this fight. So the pick is Dern. In terms of a round, it could be in any round, but I'll just say Dern sub for this one. I think she submits Angela Hill. But yeah, guys, we did it. This card is something else. Violence. It's a violent card. It's a fun card. Just very, very low level in terms of the name value there. But hey, it's a card we'll get to watch Saturday. We have this card, and then we actually take a week off, well-needed week off, and then we'll be back for a summer of very good fights. Very good fight cards this summer, so looking forward to that. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 20K this week. It would be much, much appreciated. You can check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, my DMs are always open. And other than that, best of luck for UFC Vegas 73. Enjoy the card. Let's make some money. Talk to you guys soon. See you.